U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar knew Walter Mondale very well. She'll be one of the speakers at the service today. Last week, I talked to her about her memories. Senator Amy Klobuchar, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, Esme. It's great to be on.
All right, this memorial speech has got to be very important to you. What are you hoping people take away from it?
Just that at a time of a lot of turmoil in our country, where we're fighting to defend democracies across the world, that we remember the light of someone named Walter Mondale, who was someone that approached everything he did with dignity. He was our North Star. He was someone who believed in decency and was just someone who, just my experience, he brought people with him. And I think the best example of that was there he was. He'd been a very successful senator and vice president, ran for president, didn't make it, and he could have come home and just kind of crawled under his desk. And instead, what did he do? He decided to inspire the next generation of leaders with his Mondale Fellows over at the University of Minnesota's Humphrey Institute, with being a mentor to so many new politicians. And that's how I got to know him. I was actually a college intern for him. And I got to Washington. He's the vice president. I'm so psyched. And I think this is my moment. I'm going to write all these fancy policy papers. And instead, they assigned me to do the furniture inventory. And I literally had to crawl under every desk, chair, and lamp in his staff's offices and write the numbers down. I learned two things. One, he was scrupulously honest, nothing was missing. And two, I tell college students this, always take your internships seriously, because that was my first government job in Washington, and this was my second.
There you go. Always be nice to the interns. In 2002, when he lost that Senate race that was under such tension, Senator Paul Wellstone had just died. His concession speech was so gracious and so thoughtful. And after that, he went around the room consoling people. He was consoling his supporters, not the other way around. Is that the kind of thing that you saw from Walter Mondale?
Yeah, someone with such a big heart, in one of the hardest moments where our state, and especially Paul's supporters and those that just loved the guy, they were in deep mourning and in shock. And not only after Paul died, but Mondale didn't have to step up and do that, right? And he did it because he felt it was the right thing to do. And then he ends up not winning. And then, as you said, that moment in time, he spent that day consoling the people around him, not really thinking about himself. And it reminds me of something Senator McCain once told me, that there's nothing larger in life than liberating in life than fighting for a cause larger than yourself. That was Walter Mondale. I think one of the things people don't realize about him was that he actually had a really good sense of humor. I know he seemed very, stoic Norwegian on TV and in debates and things like that, but he was very, very funny. And he one time told me at a national convention how to use a teleprompter. And I kept saying, well, no. He goes, no, you can't trust a teleprompter. It can fail you. It can fail you. So you've got to actually memorize your speech. And I look at him like, get out of here. It's going to work. And he said, no, that's how Carter screwed up when he said Hubert Horatio Hornblower on his national stage. It was a teleprompter screw up. And I said, okay. So I have this 3-minute speech. I pretty much memorize it. I'm standing on the national stage for the first time. Patrick Leahy, who I don't know, is speaking, and the teleprompter goes dark. And he has to say on the stage, the teleprompter is broken. So anyway, he kind of finishes up. I get up there. I'm standing there, and I look at the crowd. I never once look at the teleprompter, and the whole time Walter Mondale's looking at me, nodding his head, saying, See.
We focus on the vice presidency or maybe his being an ambassador to Japan. But when you look at his Senate legacy and the bills he was involved with in the Senate, the Fair Housing Act, the Consumer Protection Act, the Wild and Scenic Rivers Act, there are so many like that, too many to list. Is that something that people should really remember and part of his legacy?
Yes, because that part where he was able to, most of the time, work across the aisle, but he stood up at the time that was not popular to do. voting rights, civil rights, and passed that fair housing bill. Made such a difference for our country. And you even go back before that to his legacy when he was a young attorney general, and he led a group of attorney generals in the Gideon v. Wainwright case on an amicus brief, which means like a friends of the court brief, to show the court that all these attorney generals in the United States felt like people should be able to have a right to counsel when they were accused of a criminal crime. And so that kind of thing, when he was able to show that kind of leadership on really tough issues, set him apart at the time. And that's one of the reasons he earned so much respect from his colleagues, and then later was chosen by Jimmy Carter to be the vice president, in which he defined the modern vice presidency. Before that, one of the former vice presidents has said, you know, it is basically, and I think it was worse words than this, but it's nothing better than basically a bottle of spit, something to that words, the job. Walter Mondale changed all that. He had an office for the first time. VP had an office in the White House, there to advise Jimmy Carter, met with him every week, a tradition that's continued since then. He's the one that set the stage for the modern vice presidency.
Well, Senator, everyone is looking forward to hearing your memorial speech at this wonderful memorial that we're finally having for the vice president. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Esme.
And WCCO will stream today's memorial for Walter Mondale on CBS News Minnesota. You can go to WCCO.com and look for it live on any of your devices starting at 1:30 p.m.